So after deciding the cost model, the next stage is calculate cost estimate for cost models. So different cost models are there. So after preparing that cost model, we are making the estimate. We are comparing that cost models. I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. If this cost model is used, if this cost model is used, if this model is used, what will be the expenditure, what will be the benefit, what will be the revenue. So that comparing and calculation of cost models can be there. Then prepare yearly cost profiles. Per year, how much revenue will be there, how much expenditure will be there. So that cost profiles are there. So if you look at to the cost point in cost profile or everywhere, in previous chapter also we have studied cash inflow and cash outflow. How much is generated, how much is expenditure. So inflow, outflow, that is the only important part or important thing in the everywhere, every costing process. Roll number 53, you are raised hand. If any doubt is there, please ask. If any doubt is there, please ask. Roll number 53. Okay. So everywhere that cash profiles are there, that means revenue, expenditure. So prepare yearly. To prepare yearly means we are not required to prepare. We are just estimating per year this much cost will be generated, this much will be expenditure, like this. And this particular cost profile should be for every model. That what are the cost model you are prepared, that revenue from this model, expenditure for this model, revenue for model number 2, expenditure for model number 2. So that comparison should be there. And last one is selection of an alternative. Selection of an alternative, that is the last part. Which alternative gives more revenue, less expenditure, or by which alternative the life cycle cost is minimum, that can be selected. So if you follow this particular process to this flow chart, it is very good, or very good means it is beneficial. Okay. So this is the life cycle costing process. Then comparison between traditional costing and life cycle costing. So what is the traditional costing? Okay, so traditional costing means it reports cost and revenue on a calendar. It bases monthly, quarterly, annually. This is a traditional method. Traditional method gives a report of just a cost and revenue. Okay, so what is the expenditure and what is the revenue on calendar? That means on monthly basis, quarterly basis, 3 month, semi-annually or annually. But PLLC, it involves tracing cost and revenues on a product or services over several calendar year or over its lifespan. So that is the important one. In traditional conditions, we are just thinking about per month, this is the expenditure, per month, this is the revenue. Or 3 months, this is the expenditure, this is the revenue. Or annually, this is the expenditure, this is the revenue. But in PLC model, we can check out the cost, or we can trace the cost for several calendar periods. So what are the example we have taken? 10 years, 20 years, 5 years. So like this way, at any calendar period, we can trace the cost, and also we can find out the cost, the product cost for total lifespan. In traditional condition, in traditional way, we are not calculating, we are not finding the total lifespan cost. Okay. Next point is takes into consideration only cost concerning production in product costing. So if only product is there, here we are only considering the production cost. Suppose you are preparing the building, then that building production cost is only considered in traditional method. But in PLCC method, takes into consideration all costs, including period expenses that can be related to the product in product costing. So here in PLCC, we are considering all costs, including period expenses. Means in traditional method, only building cost we are considering. Suppose you are preparing any building, only building cost we are considering. But in PLCC method, we are considering land cost, building cost. If two flats are not sold for next 10 years, what is the cost of that? Or what is the revenue generated from that? So that is also we are considering. Is it right? So that is the difference, because if you just consider the production cost of that particular concerning production only, it may be little bit higher. But here we are considering labor charges, we are considering maintenance, we are considering recurring, non-recurring, and whatnot. So all these things we are considering here, and that is helpful for us in further calculations. Okay, next, attaches importance to the control of the cost at only production phase. Okay, so here in traditional way, only we can control the cost, or we can reduce the cost at production phase only. So construction is going on. During building construction, how we can save the cost, that is only we are deciding. But in PLC method, importance to cost management from development phase onwards. Okay, so importance is given from development, that means design and development. That means, so if you look at this particular point, design, development, actual production, operating, management, maintenance, and decline or dispatch or disposal of that. So in these all sectors, after designing, from development point, we are taking into the point that where we can go for cost reduction. Okay, so that is the one important point. Here in production phase only we are just thinking how the cost will be controlled, but here from development phase we can say that we can find out the areas where cost reduction can be possible. It is based on periodical reporting, and it is based on life cycle reporting. So periodically reporting for that particular certain period of 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, 6 months, 2 months, 2 years, how that particular product is reporting, how that product is behaving. So based on that periodical report, periodical transaction, periodical cost, overall judgment will be there. But here the product is considered for total life cycle from generation to the ending. Total profitability of product over its entire life becomes difficult to determine. Okay, so total profitability, this is the assumption in, or this is the point in traditional method, that total profitability of a product over its entire life becomes difficult to determine. Is it right? But in PLCC, it enables a product's true profitability to determine at the end of the economic life. True profitability at the end of the economic life. So what is that economic life is there? Suppose if you take the building example, you can say that the flat is repaired in 20 lakh rupees, it is sold out for 30 lakh rupees. 10 lakh rupees is the profit in traditional method. But in PLCC method, that 30 lakh rupees flat gives me 48 lakh rupees revenue for next 20 years, or 1 crore, near about 1 crore rupees revenue for next 40 years, and my flat cost will remain as it is. So that economic life here for total profitability, periodical type or entire life is not considered. But in PLCC method, total economic life has been considered from birth of that product or project to the end of that project or product. So this can be give true profitability. Okay, selling, purchasing, revenue, expenditure, maintenance, operating, all costs are considered, and it gives me true profitability, where in traditional method certain periodically profitability can be given or can be calculated. So it is little bit, we can say, if you look at to this point of view, the PLCC method is far better than the traditional method. Okay, so this is the one of the important point from comparative point of view. The periodical cost, periodical profitability, and lifetime uh, lifetime cost, economic life, and life true profitability can be possible. Then how life cycle costing helps an organization. So if you are looking to organization point of view, how it helps. LCC is the tool which helps make the logical business decisions. So already we have discussed much more point regarding this, how it helps in how it makes help to go for logical business decisions. Using LCC, company can evaluate and compare among different alternatives. The company can compare the different alternative points, and proper evaluation and proper comparison can give the proper solution. Second, assess economic viability of the project. So where the economic variations are there. Cost reduction areas are there. To assess that cost reduction areas are bit easier, and this method gives a good way of that particular cost reduction point. Okay, then allow company to make earlier allow company to take earlier actions to generate revenue or to generate revenue or to lower the cost than otherwise might be considered. So here a little bit double things are there. Okay, so that means the company can take the earlier decisions. Earlier decisions means to take initial condition decisions to generate revenue. How to generate revenue? Or that word is double, so you can neglect one word. Or to lower the cost than otherwise might be considered. And to lower the cost by cost reduction areas, or whatever the other competitors are given the cost, or whatever the life is there, so you can lower the cost than that. Okay, so either you can reduce the cost of project, or you can generate the revenue as early as possible. LCC helps manager to understand acquisition cost versus operating and support cost. So already these two costs we have gone through: operating and support cost, the recurring cost, acquisition cost, that initial cost, basic cost we can say. And to understand this difference to the higher level, it gives bit clear we can say clear thoughts for this. Okay, what is the initial cost or acquisition cost, and what is the operating cost or support cost. Then from this we are going to start certain examples. So before that, we are going for this life cycle costing advantage and disadvantage. Okay, what are the advantages of life cycle costing? Evaluating of completing phase option. Sorry, completing purchase option. So we can evaluate all the purchase options. Okay, so you can evaluate all the purchase options. We can competing purchase options. So compare, compete, evaluate, and then go for purchase. Improved awareness of cost drivers and total cost. So cost drivers is a different thing. Is it right? So what are the main cost drivers are there, and what is the total cost is different thing. So already we have taken one example of bike. So you have purchased that bike at 70,000 rupees, and you required every month 2,000 rupees petrol. Then total cost will be summation of all these costs. But here cost driver is petrol cost. Is it right? Because total cost is only one-time cost. But whatever that driver cost is there, or cost driver is there, that is petrol cost is there, and every time it may be increasing as utilization increasing. So improved forecasting. So what do you mean by forecasting? This is the one more word from the management point of view. What do you mean by forecasting? So forecasting is nothing but study of past experience and create the new conclusions for future. Okay, so simple example about forecasting is the monsoon forecast. So they have studied past 10 years data, 15 years data, and they are predict this year 98% rain will be there, 90% rain will be there, 120% rain will be there. That 120% of whose? That last year's 120%, last year's 90%, last year's 98%. And for that, they are not studied only last year's data. They have used, might be studied last 10 years data. Is it right? So that is the improved forecasting. So study of previously completed projects, and through that study of completed projects, we can make estimate for new project or cost reduction areas for new projects. So that is the very important point regarding forecasting, and everywhere the forecasting is decided. Forecasting decides important role. So last time this was the expenditure, but this time this was the expenditure. Okay, so last time labor cost is this much, this time labor cost will be reduced. Last time raw material cost is this much, this time raw material cost will be this much. So everywhere that forecasting plays an important role for total project. And last advantage is performance trade off against cost. Whatever the performance is there and what is cost we are giving. Okay, so that is one of the important factor in the management, performance trade. Okay, trade off against cost. How much you are giving the performance, and against to that performance, how much cost is there. Okay, suppose you are purchasing bike, instead of giving 70 km mileage, if that bike gives 30 km mileage, that performance is less. And why to purchase more then? Okay, why to use more that bike? So you are knowing that in market right now, Bullet is there and Splendor or other Shine vehicles are also there. But number of bullets are reduced and number of other vehicles are more. Why? Because what is the mileage of that bullet? It is maybe 35, 40 kilometers per liter. And other vehicles are giving 70, 60 kilometers like this. So that performance trade against cost. What is the initial cost? What is the operating cost? Okay, in the bike case, operating cost or that whatever the petrol cost is, it is similar. But what is the initial cost? Okay, so that particular point is coming here in the advantageous point, that performance trade-off cost. And if you go for disadvantageous part, there are only two main disadvantages or big disadvantages. These are the costly method. Okay, so whatever this method is there, it is too much costly, because each and every point you require to take, and if you are expert in this lifestyle costing, no problem. But if this work is given to other company or other party, they may require a little bit high charge. Okay, this is the costly method, and it is time consuming process. So it is not completed in little bit, we can say, early manner or early way. It is a time consuming process to calculate all these things and all the cost and whatnot, or by considering all options, by studying all alternatives, by studying all cost breakups. by studying all cost models, by doing everything regarding this cost, life of the product, and performance of the product. By considering this all these things, whatever the calculations are there, whatever evaluation is there, that evaluation is not easily made. It required certain time, and that time may be a little bit more. This is the cost, cost, that is a money as well as time consuming process. But if you look at the profits or advantages of this lifestyle costing or traditional costing, these are more. So these are the some advantages and disadvantages of the life cycle costing.